I had to do a small kind of errand, so I said, you know what? Let's do another quick stream and get a little bit more done in our 3 hour video. So we're going to watch a little more about this and see what we think about certain points. All right, here we go.
We will switch right into that as I do a quick housekeeping note. Folks, you can find all of our guests linked in the description box, and that includes the podcast as Modern Day Debate puts all of the debates on our podcast. You can find every single one of our debates on the podcast. Check out our guest links. With that, gentlemen, the floor is all yours for open dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, their position was that the Torah and the Bible is preserved. That's complete nonsense. You guys have
not according to the Quran.
It's complete sense.
I mean, can you recite any single verse of the Bible in Aramaic? Just one verse. I just want to see you recite one verse.
Why would it be in Aramaic when, according to the Quran itself, the Injil is a Greek book? Why would the book in Aramaic have a Greek title?
So you can't recite one verse.
I asked a very simple question. According to the Quran,
don't ask me a question. I asked you a question. Can you recite one verse in Aramaic?
Yeah, this is such a ridiculous point here. This is so silly. This is so ridiculous. This makes absolutely no sense. Whether it's in Arabic or not doesn't mean it's preserved or not preserved. If the Quran is translated to English, does that mean the Quran is not preserved? This logic doesn't follow. And I don't get this critique of the Bible. I don't understand the line of argumentation. If anybody here, kind of knows, please let me know why you think this actually makes any sense, or is it equally nonsensical to you as it is to me?
You can't.
You're not listening. According to
Junior, I got to give him a chance to respond.
Yeah, Junior. Our New Testament was written in Koine Greek, which was the common language of the time. If you wanted to write something only for Aramaic speakers, you had a very limited audience. If you wanted it for the world, which is what the gospel is for, then you would write it in Greek. Now, you could say, well, it doesn't make any sense. It should have been in Aramaic. Well, then the Quran is wrong, because the name of Jesus' book that we read about in the Quran is the Injil, and Injil is an Arabic transliteration of a Greek word, not an Aramaic word, not a Hebrew word. It's a transliteration, meaning you take the word from Greek and put it into Arabic, and might have gone through like Ethiopic or something like that. But it goes back to the Greek word euangelion. That's according to the Quran, the title of the book that Jesus brought was in Greek. So did Allah get it wrong?
Look, if you can't recite one verse in Aramaic, just say
because
that.
it wasn't written in Aramaic. It was written in Greek. It was written in Greek, according to me and according to the Quran. So you're demanding something from Allah right now.
So you can't recite one sentence in the language that your prophet spoke. Okay, let's move on. The opening dilemma that they won't touch. Christians argue that the Torah is preserved, but that forces them into a weird dependency on Judaism.
It sounds like you're just reading stuff. Why don't we actually look at some of these?
Do they not understand that Christianity is directly linked to Judaism? They're not really separate. I think he thinks that Christianity is this kind of separate thing. Rabbinic Judaism is where you could say there's a difference, because there's an offshoot. Judaism is like what we call the Judaism of the first century kind of manifests into what we see as what's called Christianity and Rabbinic Judaism. They're from the same parent kind of narrative and tradition. They're not separate and different. They're just different manifestations of the same thing. So it's very weird that he keeps harping on Judaism. He's trying to take modern day Rabbinic Judaism and equate that to first century Judaism, which is it differs. Even the Rabbinic Judaism of the first century is not the same as the modern day Rabbinic Judaism. It's just different.
Guys, real quick, that you guys completely massacred.
You guys are defending Judaism while you yourselves believe that Jews are going to hell because they denied the salvation.
What are you talking about? Why don't we look at some of these passages that you can...
And that's just, and you see me shaking my face here. I'm respectful. I'm not going to shoot in because I think that's just not my style. But now I have time to analyze this and go through this. I'm just like, what the heck are you saying? And you can see it on my face. I'm like, first of all, going to hell? That's, first of all, if you're taking a kind of a Christian type of perspective, that has nothing to do with modern day. Like, Jewish people, if you're taking a Christian perspective, Jewish people are not excluded from being connected in paradise, even from a Christian paradigm. The point is, it's about the belief in Jesus. That's the point from a Christian paradigm. It has nothing to do with the person practicing Judaism or not. That's a separate issue, and he doesn't understand that or know that. You don't have to, the Jew does not have to become a Gentile in order for them to follow Jesus. So it's weird. And I think even the concept of afterlife is very different. They're using the term of like lake of fire is a kind of a, it's using a sense of imagery, because we already know from the text that the afterlife that's described by Jesus is already clearly engaged with in the parable where the Sadducees or the Sadducees asked Jesus, do you, or the big chase, you're going to see about that in here. The Sadducees, they asked, like, there's a woman who marries 7 brothers, and which brother will she be with in paradise? And the point is, it's not like that. That's not what the afterlife looks like. So even the imagery that's used, it's not describing what we know now. It's not the same thing. It's not just an external manifestation of what we have in this situation. I would say any Christian would agree with that. It's not just, it's very close to like what we see even in rabbinic Judaism, like a spirit world. It's not this world reincarnated in the next. That's not what afterlife is, I would say, for any Christian denomination. They might use like pictures and depictions, but I don't think that is what you would see. And I would also, like, even if you read like Dante's Inferno and Paradiso and Purgatorio, this is just imagery and poetry that's being described. This is not what this is not what afterlife is for a Christian or a Jewish person. And even other Muslims do not take this form of afterlife. This is a very kind of Salafi depiction of literalism, and he's trying to impose that onto the Christian methodological and religious approach, which is not there.
Completely distorted and massacred. So this is actually a very simple question. If the Quran is only affirming some originals that we don't have access to, why would, you already quoted part of the verse, but why would Allah command Christians to judge by the gospel if we do not have the gospel? That would be like me commanding you to judge by some book that you have no access to and saying you're going to hell if you don't do it.
If you believe that the Quran is the command of Allah, then you should read all of it and not read parts of it. Okay?
Well, I mean, you've got a command there. You've got a command. Christians, people of the gospel, judge by what Allah revealed therein.
Okay.
This is what
David,
Jews
respectfully, I have to just disagree with the Injil was in fact written in Aramaic. It was not written in Greek first.
Where? It was written in Aramaic. Why would it be written in Aramaic? First of all, the text is supposed to reach many people. It's not just supposed to reach Jewish people. It's supposed to reach the Gentiles as well. So I don't understand what his point is, and I'm not sure where he's getting this argument from.
Okay, so Allah.
Because Greek would have been the common language that most people would have spoken. Sort of like how we speak English now. It's sort of like this basic language, our galactic basic that we all speak. But yeah, people, there are people in America who speak Spanish and they speak English, and some people who speak French or Italian, and but the language that most people would be reached upon would be in Greek. So I don't, in that period of time, and just like now people speak English and things are communicated in English, it was just sort of the basic language that everybody could like link with. So I don't understand what this argument is, and I don't know where it's coming from.
Got it wrong.
Where are you referencing that it was written in Greek first? What is your source? What is your data form proving that statement is correct?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and
see, I'm dying listening to this. This is hilarious to me.
The letters and the book of Acts were written in Koine Greek. That's all the manuscripts we have.
Which verse?
That's the entire history.
Give us the verse. We'll pull it up now. We'll look at it.
What are you guys talking about?
So give us
Jesus preached in Aramaic.
Okay, so the Quran was wrong. So the Quran was wrong.
was written in Greek.
They knew multiple languages. They didn't just know Aramaic. They knew Hebrew, Greek.
Yeah, let me break it down. There was this guy named Alexander the Great who conquered everything from Southern Europe all the way out to India, and he spread the Greek language. So that was basically the English of its time, and that you can go to
See, Dr. Wood agrees with me. That this is how academics think. I didn't even I'm watching this. It's like new. I haven't seen this in a long time. So I'm like, the argument he's making is exactly the argument that I'm saying, which is funny. This is how you can tell someone who's more of a scholar and academic versus someone who might not be so much.
You can go to Sweden or something like that, and people there. It's very easy to find English speakers there. So that's just the language that it was put out in, because it was meant to reach people with the gospel. If you're saying that's wrong, no, it had to be written in Aramaic. The question remains, according to the Quran itself, the title of Jesus' book was Greek. Injil is not a transliteration of an Aramaic word. It's a transliteration of a Greek word.
Were written in Greek. That is indeed correct.
Let's pull up the definition of the word Injil.
That is what Injil is. It's Evangelion, or Evangelion. Not Neon Genesis Evangelion, but Evangelion. Yeah, that's what it is. Gospel is that. So it's a Arabic translation of gospel.
Okay.
Or good news.
Mm-hmm.
The term Injil is an Arabic term used in the Quran for the revelation given to Prophet Jesus.
Oh Lord, oy vey shmir. Ay caramba. Can we believe what we just heard here? Oh, it's utter nonsense.
Yeah, but that the word means something. The word means something.
The linguistic origin.
What does the word mean?
From good news, which is similar to the glad tidings.
Yeah, good news is gospel. That's literally what it is.
Which the Quran claims to be itself. So the Quran is not in Greek, even though it is a good news. You are trying to equivocate the word good news in Greek.
That's not what equivocate means. Here, let me show you what that word means. Oh, we have to fact check everything, even grammar. This is what equivocate means. That's not what he means. He's saying he means like make an equivalency, not equivocate. We're not making unclear, vague, double meaning words on purpose. We're not trying to hide truth. We're actually trying to manifest the truth.
Greek to the fact that
what's the Greek word? What's the Greek word? What's the Greek word for good news?
You simply have to admit that you cannot speak one sentence in Aramaic. That's how removed you are from Jesus.
We don't need to.
Yes, you can. Ella lema sabachthani. There you go. That's one line in Greek. In Aramaic. That's in the text.
Okay, so everything you're saying right now is Allah had no clue what he's talking about.
You don't know Jesus. You're here defending the Torah.
So this is the thing. I'm very, I have a lot of answers to respond, but I'm not going to interject, because I think this is what I think is important of being on a team and being a partner. I have to make my team look good. And what's important for me in a team sport is, if my teammate is taking the lead, I'm not going to push. That's a very important thing for me. That's why you'll notice in team debates, I don't do that. I'm cool taking the lead, but I think it's very important that I want my team to look good. So I'm not going to interrupt my opponents. I'm not going to keep jumping and interjecting. I have to look polite. I think it's as important in debates. So this is what my strategy is, and this is why I don't speak up a whole lot, because if my partner's taking lead, then I let them take lead. So just letting you know a little bit about what my strategy is within this type of situation, and why I might appear to be a little quiet.
You are defending the book of the Jews who you believe are going to hell.
None of that is true. That's just not a true statement. Being Jewish, even in any Christian paradigm, doesn't mean you go to hell. You could still be Jewish and be in the presence of Christ according to the Christian paradigm. That's just a false statement. Even using a Christian narrative, being Jewish isn't the issue. It's about believing in Jesus. Believing in Jesus does not mean you lose your Jewish identity. According to Christianity, maybe a rabbinic Jewish person might challenge that and say, if you believe in Jesus, you're not Jewish. But that would be an outside perspective. And just because a person says you're not that doesn't mean you are that. Doesn't mean you're not that. That's just a claim. So
God affirms the book of the Jews and orders them to judge by it, and your prophet says that the Torah and the gospel are with the Jews and the Christians. You say they're not. So you're contradicting your God and you're contradicting your prophet.
You believe
and
the
you don't
Jews
seem to
are
care.
going to hell? Yes,
What
you
are
do.
you talking about?
You believe, you argued for the Torah in your opening statement.
Look at Rain. He's dying too because it's so ridiculous. This argument is nonsense.
You argued for the Torah. Let me finish. You said that Jewish textual transmission is reliable, and you simultaneously claim that Jews reject Jesus. Therefore, they stand outside salvation.
Laughing because it's nonsense. And I'm laughing because it's nonsense. It's just not true. It's not a true statement.
So which one is it? Are they reliable guardians of God's scripture, or
Also, it has nothing to do with affirmation or abrogation. The Jew, what a Jew is and what a Jew believes, it's like we have to throw in anti-Semitism into this mix. It's just nonsense. Like, why are Muslim debaters doing this? Jews don't have, they're not a part of the primary conversation here. The thing is, it's about scripture. It's not even about Christian. It has nothing to do with Christian. It has nothing to do with Jewish. What it has to do with is there textual preservation or is there not? That's it.
are they a community that
Us.
rejected God's final message? Because to me, I know we can both agree on this point, but you're going to try and scapegoat. I can agree that the Jews are going to hell because they rejected Jesus.
That's not even true according to the Quran. It says in 262 that that Jews, Christians, and Sabians will be protected and not have to fear if they do no wrong and believe in the last day. So yeah, it doesn't say you have to believe in the Prophet Islam. It doesn't say you have to believe in the Big JC. So this is a weird belief that's not even in the Quran, and I would even argue is not Islamic. I would say it's a bid'ah. It's an innovation that a lot of these Muslims created in order to try to make Islam the greatest religion and the chosen religion, and there is no other religion. I think the Quran inherently takes a perennialist position, at least for Abrahamic faiths, which means that it accepts these Abrahamic faiths as that a person can be an adherent, and the jizya is actually a proof of this. Because if it weren't, I mean, I have problems with this, ethically speaking, with the, how people of the indigenous religions are treated. I think as a person who's a hardcore, free speech activist, I think people should be able to have whatever religion they want and not have a fear of any religion. They shouldn't be persecuted if they believe in many deities or they believe in one deity. That's what freedom is. So I'm team freedom. That's my perspective. So I understand that ancient people may have not taken my particular perspective, but that's my perspective. Because he says he said I was not being respectful. Yeah, they called me a Christian, actually. I was not non-Muslim. If you look at the thing, it said I was a Christian, which, I mean, doesn't bother me. I'm not offended by that, If you want to call me that, that's fine. I'm not offended by that. A lot of people would be offended, like, God, you're like this pagan. And I'm just like, I don't get offended. There's just people have different religious perspectives, and that's okay. I've got no problem with that. So I believe people should have freedom. That's my belief system. So,
You can't say that statement right now, and you're going to cower it out. You're going to ask me stupid questions.
What?
This is the truth.
No, I'm going to point out that what you're saying has nothing to do with the actual topic, which is the preservation
You are defending
of the
the
text.
Torah. Stand up and defend the Jews.
We're defending the preservation of the Torah, just like your God and your prophet did.
Exactly. Good job, David. That is exactly, and that's what I said too. And you see, I love that. We're completely on the same page. This is what a team does. I'm with him. The arguments I make support the arguments he makes. We're in complete support of our argumentation. That's how a good team works. So even if things aren't completely resonant with the team, you do your best to make your team look good. I'm good at team sports. I used to play basketball in high school, and I did lots of sports, and like even in college and stuff too. So I love that. But the teamwork makes the dream work. You got to make your team look good. So I believe in manifesting the team ethic here, and that's it. I'm in agreement. This is exactly the point. And it's so funny that we're completely aligned. I'm like, that is what we're doing. The topic is affirmation. It's none of this other stuff. This is all red herrings. And I've seen this a lot with a lot of these modern day Muslim debaters. They do a bunch of distraction, deception, like magic stuff where they're like, Mott and Bailey, where they try to put one thing and then they go to another place. And none of it is actually engaging what's going on. Lots of ad hominem. I'm like, engage the topic. We're not, if you see me debate, I never debate off the topic. When I debate, I said, this is the topic because I take it seriously. I'm not here to do deceptive tactics, and I'm seeing that there's some deceptive tactics here.
You can't even speak on the Jews. This is how much they enslave you.
If we were having a debate about salvation or something like that, might be relevant. We're having a debate about the textual preservation. You could take a book by an atheist and argue that it's been preserved. You could take Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion, and say that book has been preserved. That has nothing to do with whether Richard Dawkins believes in Jesus or anything else. We're talking about the preservation. So Torah been preserved according to us and according to your God and according to your prophet. The gospel's been preserved according to us and according to your God and according to your prophet. You guys aren't just arguing against us, you're arguing against your God and your prophet. And if you think that's okay, that's on you.
Our God says that you're going to hell. So anybody who has a preserved text is not going to hell. We have preserved text. We're not going to hell. You are going to hell, sir.
Yeah, he says we're going to hell for not judging by our book, which you say we don't have. He says we're going to hell if we don't follow our book, which you say we don't have.
You are changing God's words. You are directly changing God's words. You are saying something about Allah right now, which is untrue. You are a liar.
What am I saying about Allah?
Right now,
by quoting the Quran?
We could both wish for death. I wish that the liar among us dies. Can you say the same?
That's horrendous.
To Allah, the liar among us right now dies.
I don't want anyone here to die.
Can you say that?
I don't want anyone, even if you're lying left and right.
You're a
I
coward.
want you to die.
That's right.
Dang, man. If this is about showing Christian character versus Muslim character, man, it's bad. It's bad news. It's bad news. That's all I can say. Bad news. All right, we'll continue.
We're for life.
Shift the current dialogue.
You can shift this conversation.
I'd be interested in just looking at some of these passages here. You weren't able to explain why Allah would order us to judge by something we don't have, and why your prophet would say something that we have it when we don't. I don't know. It sounds like you're arguing that the Quran has been corrupted. If Allah keeps affirming our books and you're saying no, it doesn't, then it's been corrupted.
Historically speaking, it's pretty much a fact that the Quran is the most unmodified text basis of all Abrahamic religions and all holy books. I think that this is inarguable at its core.
What's modification?
Let me just respond. I'm going to tell you where I agree and where I don't. The Quran was written in a time where you did have access. You had parchments, whereas earlier they were writing on papyrus, which didn't last as long, and so on. So you had issues like that, and you ended up with some professional scribes and so on. But to act like this is some perfect preservation, I mean, Muhammad's own companions couldn't even agree on which
preserved perfectly. You know what I mean? And I also don't think that that's just opinion. I believe that that is indeed fact, right? Like it's none of the holy books.
We do. Yeah. So you and I agree. Nothing has been. Let me put it this way: anytime you have human beings writing something down by hand, they're going to make mistakes. So that sort of thing is going to happen. That's why you have in various handwritten copies of anything that you're going to have textual variants. But it's not.
You just conceded your entire point by saying
didn't concede anything. But so the Quran, written on parchment and so on. But Muhammad's own companions couldn't even agree on which chapters were supposed to be in the Quran. Ibn Masud said 111 chapters. Ubay ibn Ka'b said 116. They went with the compromise of Zayd ibn Thabit, which is 114. Uthman had to burn the manuscripts because there were differences and so on. You were saying so many people have memorized the Quran. It's interesting. One of Muhammad's companions, Ibn Umar, said, "Let none of you say you have memorized the entire Quran. How do you know what it is when so much of it has been lost?" And so what you should say is that you've memorized what remains thereof. Now, notice, I can grant all of that. I could say there were textual differences and so on. There were disagreements. They had problems. According to Ubay ibn Ka'b, over 200 verses were lost just from Surah 33 because the only people who had them memorized died in battle. So you can have things like that. I can still look at the Quran and say, okay, I think it's been well preserved. So
based on these statements, what makes you think that the Bible or the Torah that you are defending, you're defending David Wood is defending the Torah. This is
the preservation of the Torah. Yes, just as Jesus just as the apostles did, just as Jesus did. According to your Quran, it said he affirmed the Torah between his hands. Mabaina yadehi, the Torah between his hands. And so if he was doing that, and if Muhammad confirmed it, and Allah confirmed it, and you're saying, no, I have to be stupid for saying it, well, you're not just attacking me, you're attacking your God and your prophet and Jesus. And it's, I mean, if you're an atheist, you could say all that, but
we're not attacking God. We're not attacking Jesus.
Absolutely.
That the Jewish belief is corrupted in its essence because they reject
not because of the text
of Jesus Christ.
Jesus and all his early followers were all Jews. They were all Jews who believed in the Torah.
Jews who disbelieve in the blood sacrifice of Jesus Christ are going to hell. This is key, fundamental.
It's not based on the preservation of the text.
You believe that Jews are going to hell. Please let me finish. Please, I just need 30 seconds. You believe that Jews are going to hell, and you sat here for 12 minutes with your partner in the opening statement defending the Torah, which the Jews swear, and they built their whole belief around the Torah. So do not tell me that the Torah is preserved, because when you believe that people who follow a preserved text can end up in hell, that is a major contradiction. And I understand for you Christians, contradictions are not a problem. You can live as a walking contradiction and be happy. As Muslims, we cannot. That is why we read the Quran, because Allah challenged us to read the Quran and find one contradiction. And guess what? Not a single 2.1 billion Muslim, not a single one has been able to find one. That is why we remain in Islam. That is why we are Muslim. Now tell me, why are you
30 seconds?
Why do you follow the Bible? Why do you follow the Bible?
Well, I believe it's revealed by God, but that's still a separate question from whether it's been preserved. An atheist can say the Bible's been preserved. An atheist can say that the Quran has been preserved, or that any other book has been preserved. That's a question of textual criticism and theology and so on. And it's not about the core criticism of the Quran against Jews and Christians is not, hey, your text has been corrupted. It's that you're not following your text. You distort it with your speech. You misinterpret it. You lie about it. None of those criticisms make any sense if we just had a corrupt book and we just didn't know. So Allah is telling Jews and Christians, guys, you're not following your book. You need to go back to your book. And why would he constantly over and over again in the Quran tell us to judge by our book and tell us we're going to hell if we don't judge by our book, if we don't have the book or we don't have this original revelation? Surah 2, verse 85, Allah tells the Jews that they have to believe in all of their book, not just part. And if they only believe in parts, he'll send them to hell. 547 tells Christians to judge by the gospel. 543 orders Jews to judge by the Torah. 568, in 568, Allah says, O people of the book, you have no ground to stand upon until you stand fast by the Torah, the gospel, and all the revelation that has come to you from your Lord. If that's Allah trying to say, hey, your book's been corrupted, you need to get rid of it and just go with the Quran, then you'd have to say he's the absolute, hands down, worst communicator of all time. Okay, and I won't even say that. And I don't even believe in your God. I would never say that this is just the worst communication ever. But you are.
I mean, you can put words.
Allah also says in 279, so woe to those who write the book with their own hands and then say this is from Allah. To change, to exchange it for a small price. This isn't about mere corruption of interpretation.
Look, the problem with David's statement, okay, when I
address 279,
why do you believe in the Bible? You use the Quran as part of your answer. Is this the Christian dilemma forming in front of us?
We're not debating atheists. We're not debating atheists here.
You can't even explain why you follow the Bible without mentioning the Quran. How come you cannot give me a straight up answer as to why you follow the Bible as the word of God, and then you have to use the Quran?
I can tell you why I follow it. I can tell you why I follow it.
Why are you using the Quran to prove your position? This is
because this is a debate between Christians and Muslims.
Just to be sure, because I know that the title that everybody agreed on is Affirmation or Abrogation, the Quran and earlier scriptures. I just want to be sure that for the audience in the live chat asking, like, how does this have to do with that? We just want to tie it more closely to the title.
Yeah. I have a question.
I'm confused.
I have a question to ask.
Because we haven't heard from Isa. We haven't heard from Isa for a long time.
So my question that I would ask is, you said that that the Quran has a perfect preservation versus other texts. So what are these other texts that you're comparing it to? What is your standard of preservation? This is the important element. Also, is it fair to say I'm making an argument of texts that are from thousands of years ago from a text that's only 1400 years ago? Is that a fair standard to say? And would say, well, yeah, of course, this thing is recent and there's newer technology. Thus, you could say, well, the Yellow Pages is more perfectly preserved than any of these texts. You could make that argument. I don't know if that's a fair argument. I don't know if that's a fallacious argument. But the point is, what is our standard for preservation? I think this is an important question to ask.
My whole opening statement was about that. I'm not sure if you were following, but I urge you to go back and listen to the first 12 minutes where I was speaking. Now, to address the second part of your question,
let's gaslight.
Okay,
let's gaslight.
The Quran itself is the only book that is memorized in its entirety and is considered as a revelation.
Ibn Umar calls that a lie.
How do you know that?
You're contradicting Muhammad's companions.
There's no other book. There's no other book. Zero that has ever been memorized in its entirety in the history of revelation. Why?
And no one has the Quran memorized. Zero. There are zero people who have it memorized.
This is a divine miracle exclusive to Islam. Whether you want to believe the Quran is preserved or not, we don't care. You cannot get rid of the Quran. If we burned all the books today on the planet, the only revelation that would return would be the Quran. And it would return in 48 hours, and we could use children to bring it back. This is how preserved Islam is. You guys don't even have it now. Your scripture. You guys would lose your scripture. If we burned all the books and turned off the internet, the Quran would be the only revelation that survives.
How do you know that?
The only book that survives. Because we memorized it. Because we memorized it.
The Vedas have been memorized
how you did it down to memory.
That's how you did it at the beginning, and it was a disaster. And you lost entire chapters, and you lost large portions of chapters. And you lost individual verses when a
I
sheep
think that's
ate the only
applicable to
copies.
every religion. I think that goes back to Isa's question. It's like, what is the standardized sort of method of preservation, and how do we kind of discuss and consolidate?
There are five main methods of preservation. There are five main methods of preservation. Okay? The methods of preservation are oral memorization, storing these scriptures in a secret hiding place, giving them to the high up clerics and scholars to memorize them and to deal with them, and then also using them daily in prayer. And there is all of the above, which is using.
And can we say that that's been applied to every religion as well? And again,
that has been applied to every religion has their own preservation, correct? This is what we are arguing, that the Quran is preserved better than all these books. You can't prove that. And that the argument that I was
I'm
making
saying this, and I'm asking, and I'm trying to consolidate Isa's question earlier to find where is the common ground across both sides, right? Like
both sides must follow the Quran. The Quran must be obeyed.
We can't. You're telling us not. The Quran orders us to judge by the gospel. It orders Jews to judge by the Torah. You're saying no. So the Quran, we can't listen to. You're telling us not to obey the Quran. We're saying, hey, if you obey the Quran, then it points to our scriptures. You're saying, well, then throw out the Quran.
The Quran was revealed to all of humanity, David. We are all supposed to follow the Quran. We are not all supposed to follow the Torah.
What am I as a Christian supposed to do if I follow the Quran? I'm supposed to judge by the gospel, believe in the gospel. He says we have no.
All right, we're going to stop right there, and we'll continue moving forward in the next one. This is a wild story, but we'll continue. Maybe soon we'll do another stream. I have to run an errand, and then we'll come back. Okay. See you in the next one.